Hey everybody, Pastor Vern with your daily update for November 11th. It's Veterans Day. So if you have a veteran in your life, make sure that you appreciate their sacrifice in serving our country and their willingness to do that. So I just want to lift that up to you kind of as we get started. We are continuing on with just some kind of different facts about, or in some cases, traditions that aren't, sometimes things are not hard to make a hard and fast fact, but it's just some things, some traditions that the church is involved in and how they see some things and some of the words they use and so so far we've talked about a couple things that are kind of interesting, why we use the term pastor and beeswax candles. Those are the two things that we've come up with so far. Well, today we are going to talk about the offering. Okay, you know, one of the things I heard growing up is, especially because I think of the time period I was born in, a lot of folks had lost their desire to go to worship during a time period where money was very difficult and the pastor often preached about it. Um, I kind of picked that up not only from my personal experience with my family, but also from what I've heard from others, is that there were some problems. We had some financial hard times in this country, and pastors were as hard struck as anyone with their churches, and they got into this thing about money being a subject in many sermons. Um, Idealistically, we do need to have some tithing sermons from time to time. I usually try to get at least one in a year that is specifically about tithing, which is more than what I say about the offering each and every week. It's important to support our church, and traditionally, the scriptures tell us that the first 10% of all that comes from God to us is God's property, and it should be returned to Him. People argue that with me, and I've always gets tickled with the argument: is that before or after taxes? Well, I don't know. They did have income tax in the time of Jesus. The Jewish people paid income tax to the Romans, along with a couple other taxes that they used that they had to pay as they were being oppressed by the Romans, because they didn't have any say in how the taxes were used. So that was kind of there was some issues with that, but we know that Jesus said to give to Rome what is Rome, give to God what is God's, and God says the first fruits. Um, so the offering really began just about as early as the church started. The Apostle Paul writes that on the first day of every week, each one of us should set aside a sum of money in keeping with their income. Maybe that goes back to the 10% level. Um, One of the things I tell people is, and when we talk about that, especially some people who are kind of new to the church, who are trying to find out and figure out where they fit with a lot of things, is that if a 10% tithe, as we call it, is a difficult thing for you, I mean, if it would upset the balance of how your household runs, consider maybe a 2 or 3% to start with and work your way into the 10%. I think we all know that we can get to the point where we adjust with the economy, and we can adjust with our tithing also. And here's one of the things that I think is interesting about what we call the offering. As Paul puts it, we need to put the first day of the week, we need to put aside some in accordance with our income. That's what he said. But what was really how the offering really got to be an important part of the church, because really they had no structure to support that much. In the early church, there wasn't paid pastors, so to speak. There wasn't buildings to maintain. There wasn't, you know, things like wasn't copiers to buy, there wasn't a light bill to pay, all those kind of things. Oftentimes they met in someone's home or even in the open air. Is that it impressed the people that were non-believers that the offering went vastly, almost completely, for the help and relief of the poor. Um, some would tell you that the tradition of the offering in the Christian church that does go to the poor has always impressed those who are non-believers and have giving them the opportunity to maybe explore a relationship with Christ and a relationship with the church. Um, I think in my case, during my time in ministry, that has been proven out to a lot of extent as we have gone through some very difficult circumstances in our different communities, and people who have not been a part of our churches and maybe a part of the Christian community in general in a community have often told me they were impressed upon the giving and the graciousness of the people of the churches. All right, now that's a little bit about offering. Take good care of yourselves, watch out for others, and we'll talk to you later. Be safe.